here's my AiM Solo 2DL install I did on my 128i. A couple of things you'll need here. Broke it out for the power and CAN side of the equation, and then the data expansion side of the equation for my oil pressure sensor. This works on all E8x, E9x cars. So first things first, got to get into the fuse box area. This is going to help us connect to power and then run the cable to the CAN network. And I apologize for any heavy breathing. This is the price you pay for getting this great high quality tutorial. So yeah, this is the fuse box. I'm going to test for powered switched ignition. So this is where it only gets power when the car is in the ignition switched on position like I just did there. And what it'll show is 12 volts when the ignition's on, turn the ignition off, and it should go back down to 0 volts, which is what we want to see. So both of these fuse locations will work if you're looking to do this on your car. Next is you want to cut the power. Just put it off to the side, go back into the car, and you will disconnect the wiring harness that includes the CAN high, CAN low connection. Now don't break this like I did right there, but you want to get this slide off of it, and then you'll be able to expose the pins. So I'm just using a cabinet screwdriver here to get the CAN high, CAN low, which is pin 1, pin 2. I didn't come up with this myself. This is all from instructions from Kevin Toulet's Wireworks, which is just made this such an easy install compared to doing it myself. So now with these pins undone, the next thing is we want to tap into them, and here is the adapter setup that he emailed me. So pin 1 goes in, pin 2 goes in, and that's what we're intercepting the signal with. And then here we are going to make that connection, the original connection again, so the car still has its CAN high, CAN low data path. This is the finished picture of what it should look like. And this is me plugging the rest of the adapter into those connections that we just made to complete that round trip. Alright, so now this is a little fiddly getting this to plug back in. It's a bit harder than you would expect compared to the force you needed to pull it out. But now with that connected, we can tap into the fuse box. So this is us establishing the ground that we need. So just putting this little ring terminal on there. And then we also, I didn't have a good picture of it, but tap the fuse. So now we can add power again to test the whole circuit out. Go ahead, give it the ignition. It was a little dramatic here on the first start, but eventually we do see the screen come on. I understand you can't see anything, but the important thing is it turned on. And it turns off with switch power, which is exactly what we wanted to see. So the next part is we got to get that cable over. We don't just want to have it running through the cockpit willy-nilly. So we have to route it under the center console, which you can find plenty of DIYs on how to remove that. And then pull the cable towards you because we're going to be running it up through the footwell and over here by the passenger or the driver's side vent. Don't mock me for the instructions being out. I get it's just a RAM mount, but every now and then we read these things. This is the backing plate that attaches to the Solo DL. Makes it really easy for on-off connection, which is nice because you can bring this in the house or wherever your laptop is to pass the data back and forth over a Wi-Fi connection. So now I'm running that power cable. It's a power CAN high, CAN low cable back up through this driver's side vent area. And I'm going to connect it into a data hub. And I'm pulling out the data hub at this stage just so I can see how everything's routing, because the data hub connects to the Solo and that CAN high, CAN low cable connects to the Solo, and those are the two connections that you need to make. So this is where I ended up mounting it on the FRM. Pretty convenient spot, stays out of the way. And those are the two connections that you need to make. So now we can seal everything back up. Cable routing isn't the most beautiful thing you've ever seen, but it works pretty well. Just get it behind the door trim. It'll kind of tuck itself there and stay there. I just leave it like this full time. Back on the passenger side, we're just going to seal everything up. So just make sure there's no pinches on the cable. You don't want it rubbing anywhere. It's got plenty of sheath, so it should be fine. And now we can move on to the oil pressure sensor install. So this is my little mounting solution I made up. It's just two little brackets that I put together with a little swivel style connection. So it's going to make it really easy to get it in the spot that I want it, which is over by the power steering reservoir. This is the Bimmerworld remote relocation kit. This is to avoid vibration and excess temperature that you might get from just hard mounting it directly into the oil thermostat. So this is how the data cable is going through the firewall. So that's the inside view. And then here you'll cut this nipple off, and that'll allow you to get the cable from the data hub into the engine bay where the oil pressure sensor is. Very nice of BMW to give us this. Going to the engine bay, this is where the pass-through leads to. So it goes behind the brake fluid reservoir down the side of the car. I then clip it into the oil pressure sensor, and then I follow that relocation kit down to the thermostat where we tap in with an adapter, and then I mounted it to the power steering reservoir location, which is a pretty convenient rubber isolated mount.
Hasn't exploded yet. It still makes me a little nervous.
Yeah. After a test drive, a couple leaks popped up, but nothing a wrench and a Titan couldn't fix, and then it was good to go.